Allah who has no partners or rivals. And peace be upon our Prophet Muhammad. Peace and blessings be upon him and upon his family and companions. The Almighty Allah says, and do not approach unlawful sexual intercourse. Valentine's Day. Dear beloved brothers, in the few last years, the phenomenon of imitating the Christian in celebrating with what is called Valentine's Day spread in our Islamic societies, especially among young men and women. Islamic situation towards love. Dear brothers and sisters, there is no religion urges its followers on love, intimacy, and unity like Islam. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, if one of you like his brothers, he should inform him with that. Muslims' passion is extended to include everything, even inanimate bodies. Note, the glorious Quran tells us that everything has a kind of life to glorify and remember Allah. The Almighty Allah says, and there is not a thing except that it exalts Allah by His praise, but you don't understand their way of exalting. So be aware of this reality. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, told us that he loves Uhud mountain. As he said, this is Uhud, a mountain loves us and we love it. In Islam, love is not restricted on certain time or one picture as love in our religion is more common and comprehensive than that between men and women. There are many kinds of eminent and great love like love of Allah Almighty, His Messenger, Prophet's family, Prophet's companions, righteous people, religion, and martyrdom in the cause of Allah. So, it is not right to restrict all kinds of love on that kind of love between men and women. We should concentrate on the following two realities. Firstly, Islam is a perfect religion and everything except Islam is null, as Allah Almighty has chosen it for us to be our religion. Allah Almighty says, this day I have perfected for you your religion and completed my favor upon you and have approved for you Islam as religion. So, we are not in need to what is called Valentine's Day, as it is not included in our religion. Some Sharia violations included in celebrating with what is called Valentine's Day. O Muslim brothers and sisters, every year on 14th of Feb, some people celebrate with what is called Valentine's Day, which should be called the incident of killing Valentine. Whatever the reality of this story, as we as Muslims should warn against some Sharia violations that are included in celebrating what is called Valentine's Day, among which are the following. Firstly, celebrating in that day is an imitation of the Christians, while Muslims was ordered to differ from them. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, what means you Muslims should be different from Jews and Christians? Also, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, whoever assimilates himself to a group of people, he is considered one of them. As we all know, celebrating with that day is a Christian occasion. Secondly, it is a kind of lying and fraud to name that day with Love Day, as that name is a sweet cover for this profligate habit. Thirdly, it became a day of immorality and committing depravity openly and in the daylight as the mass media conveys in that day. Fourthly, it is a kind of distortion to the reality if love in Islam, as Islam did not fight love or lover, but it organized this passion in its right official framework. If a man loved a woman, he should directly go to her family to engage and marry her according to Almighty Allah's guidance and His Prophet's Sunnah, and not to be like darkening bats or night thieves who are secretly away of people's eyes, satisfying their lusts. Fifthly, this celebration opens the door for committing adultery, while Islam prohibits adultery and all the ways that led to it, to keep lineage and also to keep good relations and coherence among the Muslim society. The Almighty Allah says, and do not approach unlawful sexual intercourse. Indeed, it is ever an immorality and is evil as a way. Sixthly, it includes a violation to the straight Islamic way, as the statistics prove that the marriage based on Islamic instructions is more stable and permanent, unlike the marriage preceded by a relation, what they call love between the couple, which is unsuccessful marriage in most times and usually ends with divorce, as it was built on Allah's anger in addition to prevailing of lying, fraud, lust, and greed between them. Attention! In every unlawful relationship between man and woman, actually the big loser is the woman. So be aware, or sisters, be aware, or daughters. Very important note. In Islam, the punishment of committing adultery is equal for both men and women, while in people's traditions and customs is different, and they consider committing adultery by a woman is a great sin, while committing it by a man is a small sin. Indeed, there is a big difference between Almighty Allah's justice and that of human beings. There is also a great difference between people's laws and Islamic Sharias. Seventhly, celebrating that day is a kind of following the malicious, destructive rumors as the corrupting people in press and media make these evil sins seem fair to deceive Islamic nation. Warning: it is prohibited to sell, buy, or give presents like flowers, hearts, cards, or gifts with the intention of celebrating this day. There is no contradiction between feeling softness and the obedience to Allah Almighty. When Muslims warn against this and the similar habits, it doesn't mean that he has no feeling or he is tough as the hypocrites claim. But Islam has taught the man the softness of feeling and mercy. Almighty Allah says, Muhammad, and we have not sent you except as a mercy to the worlds. Islam prohibited celebrating with this habit, and Muslim was ordered to be an obedient slave for Allah Almighty alone and not to be a slave for Jews or Christians. In addition, this habit has many harmful destructive effects, even if those treacheries try to make it de-serious and describe it as a beautiful human feeling. A call. We ask fathers, mothers, teachers, and officials in mass media, TV, radio, newspapers, and magazines to warn our daughters and sons against these profligate, prohibited habits. The Almighty Allah says, "Oh, you who have believed, protect ourselves and your families from a fire whose fuel is people and stones, over which are appointed angels, harsh and severe. They do not disobey Allah in what He commands them, but do what they are commanded. O Almighty Allah, we ask you to keep our sons and daughters of these sins and evils, and to make us women who listen to the word and follow the best thereof." Finally, this is the fatwa of Sheikh Ibn Uthaymin. The question: recently, the celebration of Valentine's Day spread, especially among school girls, as they wear red clothes and exchange flowers, although it is one of Christian festivals. So, we ask you to clarify the jurisprudential ruling of celebration with that day. And what are your directions for Muslims in this respect? The answer: The celebration with Valentine's Day is not permissible for the following. Firstly, it is innovated day and has no basis in Islamic Shariah. Second, it invites to the unlawful love and passion. Third, it invites the heart to be occupied with these trivial matters which contradict the way of our righteous ancestors. May Allah be blessed with them. So it is not permissible for Muslim to perform any of the festivals in that day, whether in clothes, food, giving presents or other things, as the Muslim should be proud with his religion and not to be a trivial who follows every color. And I ask Almighty Allah to keep all Muslims from all visible and invisible seditions. Islam includes all kinds of right and excludes all evils. Finally, we should know that what Almighty Allah gave us of Quran and Sunnah in honor of us, while what He prevented is an evil from which we were protected. Praise to be Allah who guided us to Islam. Peace and blessings of Allah be upon you.